Sisters and brothers, fighting for a better future is why our unions are also working to turn the tide against the growth of precarious work. I'm a member of the Canadian Freelance Union representing media workers and workers in the communications sector. So we're a prime example of this growth of precarious work, as there are fewer and fewer jobs in news, media, and communications every day. But it's not just our sector, it's every sector of this economy is seeing the growth of precarious work, and we need to fight against it united. We're fighting against dead-end jobs that too often leave workers without fair wages or even the most basic protections. Sisters, brothers, and comrades, working for a living shouldn't mean being in poverty. Working for a living shouldn't mean not having enough time to care for your family, not having enough time to have a life, and it certainly doesn't mean having to choose between your health and the next paycheck that you get. Yet this is the reality for too many workers today. It's especially true for young workers, and it's no way for us to build a future. We've learned the hard way that good jobs just don't happen. They don't get handed off from on high by some benevolent employers or governments. They need to be grown and nurtured. That is why the labor movement is talking to the federal and provincial governments about recreating the conditions that create good jobs. We're talking about raising the minimum wage and paid time off to take care of ourselves and more time to spend with family and the people who matter most. We're talking about decent work hours and better legal protection, not just for unionized workers, but for all workers. And that is why the labor movement has joined the Fight for $15 and Fairness campaigns in communities across this country, including this one. We know that good jobs deliver better futures, better jobs, safer workplaces, and better lives for all Canadians. And while I'm here, I also want to give a shout out to the workers who do unpaid work. Work in the home, work raising the next generation of our country's future. Work in the informal economy and all around the world. And we recognize the work that it takes not just to put profits in the boss's pockets, but the work that sustains us, that nurtures us as individuals and as a collective society.
So sisters and brothers, the labor movement has many struggles before it, but today is a day of celebration. We need to celebrate our history, we need to celebrate our past gains, but we need to continue the fight for the future, especially for all the younger people that you see here today. And that's why the labor movement fought so hard to get changes to the Canada Pension Plan. It's not going to benefit older people like myself, but every younger person you see here today will benefit because of those changes greatly. And we have our members to thank because of the lobbying they did over the last 9 years to get a better CPP. And frankly, we know it doesn't go far enough. It's not everything we wanted, but it's better to have a few slices of a loaf of bread than try to get the whole loaf, and we'll continue our fight for better pensions. Which brings me to the next thing. We have the members of HTU that are here today. They've been on strike going on later this month. 8 months they've been on the picket line. We need our unions to come out and continue to support those members who are on strike. We're going to be ramping up some things as we head into the fall, as we work with those HTU members and make sure that every Nova Scotian understands that they need to stop buying an anti-scab paper. That with businesses, union members, 70,000 union members shop in this province, need to stop their advertisement in the Chronicle Herald. And that every person in this province needs to log on to the Express website and get their news from that website, not from anti-scab, not from scab reporters. Sorry, I had anti-scab on my mind because you'll see the Federation over the next month or so start and ramp up the need to have anti-scab legislation in this province. Sisters and brothers, the time has come. We've had 2 water worker locals with CUPE that have been on strike, fighting mostly for a better pension. When scab workers went into the work sites, when they brought in security teams from outside, HRM Water Commission at that time, tries to contend they have no money, but at the same time they can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on hired guns. Let me say, sisters and brothers, the same goes for the HTU. The Chronicle Herald said to those members they don't have any money, the paper was going broke, they wanted the changes, but at the same time, they're continuing right now to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for hired guns to videotape the strikers as they're out on the picket lines. And I say shame on that, and it's time the labour movement stepped up in this province and tried to enforce some anti-scab legislation to make sure those things change in the future. Let me just say, tomorrow night there'll be a rally for Cuba Local 108, where the Halifax City, the employer, has now served notice that they're going to lock those workers out, and they did that almost before they even got to the bargaining table. Shame on them. And we're going to be at that rally tomorrow night, and we're going to stand up there, and we're going to defend the workers in Local 108, and we're going to make sure City Hall gets a clear message from the unionized workers in this province that it's not acceptable to take away people's pensions. That it's not acceptable to bargain through email. We need employers like the Halifax Regional Municipality to come to the bargaining table, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to continue that work. We also need to continue our fight for the seniors in this province. It's shameful that many long-term care facilities in this province aren't getting enough funding to be able to provide decent meals for their seniors. And that's shameful, and we need to pick up the fight, and we need to make sure that we're standing up for those things as well. So that's what the labour movement is going on. We're going to continue our fight for the fight for 15 in this province. It's shameful that young workers today are in precarious work. They work part-time hours. They have low wages, and we need to make sure that we want to drive the economy in Nova Scotia, and we can do better with a $15 an hour minimum wage, and we're going to continue that fight as well. So I know there's other speakers coming up, and they're probably going to talk about some of the same things I did, and I want to talk about everything to take away from what the other speakers are going to say. So with that, I say thanks again, sisters and brothers, and happy Labor Day.
It's been 227 days that our defensive strike against the Chronicle Herald has been dragging on. It's been a long time, but we are determined to win this battle. We have offered the company concessions that would give them the savings that they say they need, and more. But everything we do is not enough. And to add insult to injury, we recently learned that the Chronicle Herald has already spent $400,000 on security and private investigation to follow us and see what we're doing, and that seems ridiculous. Shame. So we don't see this strike ending anytime soon. We hope it will, but optimism sort of fades a bit after 7 months. In the meantime, we'd like to tell you that we appreciate your support, your gas cards, your grocery cards, your financial donations from all the unions across the province. One of the most important things for us is it's almost impossible to fight a employer when that employer can use scab labor. So we encourage everybody to get behind anti-scab laws in this province and make it happen. There are some other things you can do to help us out. drop by the picket line and say hello, and log on to the Local Express. The Local Express is the online publication brought to you by your striking Chronicle Herald newsroom workers, and you can access it by www.localx.ca. A couple of more things that you can do to help us out. If you're still buying the Herald, don't. If you're still advertising in the Herald, stop. And we see a large group of teachers from the Teachers Union here today. We would ask that you do not use the Chronicle Herald as a teaching tool in your classroom, because it is brought to you by Scab Labour. Thank you very much.